editing me here before the video begins. Just know and ignore the fact that I say the wrong numbers. The books are ranked in order. I didn't mess up that part, but the numbers correlated to them is not correct. And that's a really big mistake. So just please ignore it. It really does not make any sense, but thank you. Thank you for being here.
Hello, I'm Sabrina, and it's been a while since I posted something, but I wanted to talk about my top 10 favorite books of 2024. I just want to preface this by saying it wasn't a very good year for me, reading-wise, in my opinion, compared to last year. I read 60 books, and this year I read 34 books, so kind of slacked off a little bit, but nonetheless, I read a couple of good books, and I want to share them with you guys. I'm also a little bit sick, so I will not be sounding my best. Again, I have my spreadsheet here, color-coded and everything. I will not mess up the numbers this year. Okay, so starting at number 10, we have The Ones We Hate by Katie Golightly. This one is the second book in her series, and this is the first one I read, and I really like this one. The writing was a little bit weird to me. I don't know why. It was just a little weird. Like, I could not really comprehend it at first, but I think once I got past like my little rut, it was really, really good. It was an enemies with benefits type of story. And you know what? I read a lot of that this year. I read a lot of like enemies to lovers or like hate to love or like enemies with benefits. It was very much that kind of year, and I was very much in the mood for it. I'm really not a big fan of it because I just like it when the characters actually like each other. But for some reason I was really digging that this year. I forgot what the characters' names are, but I thought that they had really good banter. The banter was like quite delicious, you know, and the character arcs are really good. I think the familial aspects within both characters' lives was really, really good. It's a story set in college, and usually I don't really like books that are set in college because I just don't find them particularly like plot heavy or realistic or interesting. That is to say, I really like this one though. I thought that it wasn't cringy for me. For some reason, I find a lot of books set in college very cringy. The character is very immature, but not this one. I mean, they are immature to like some sort of degree, but like they're stupid like 20-year-olds. It's fine. So I really like this one. This follows our two main characters. I cannot remember their names, but basically they went to high school together and they just like haven't really liked each other because of like animosity, and the male main character is a director for the theater department. He casts our female main character as the lead role, and as you can assume, romance happens. It's a great time. It's super fun. I would highly recommend this. I gave this a 4 stars. Coming in at number 9, I am so surprised at like my top 10, but it is The Fake Out by Stephanie Archer. I gave this a 3.5. This one again is kind of like a hate to love, but it's more fake dating. Our main characters, again, I cannot remember their names, but they went to high school together. The male main character is a hockey player, and he gets traded into a different hockey team where the female main character works for. They fake date, and it's a fun time. It's super fun. I wasn't a big fan of the first book of the series by Stephanie Archer, so I was pretty skeptical going into this one, but I will say I was delighted. It was super fun, and I thought that the characters, I think it's Hazel and Rory, their names are that. I thought that they had really good banter. You know, I really love a boy obsessed story, you know, and that's what this was. And I thought that the relationship building between the characters was really, really well done. You know, overall, it was super fun. It was super sexy. It was super hot. I loved it. I will say though, there's probably one too many sex scenes in here. I think we could have cut back. You know, I don't think it needed to be as long as it was, but it was a fun time, and I would recommend it. The next one is Enemies with Benefits by Roxie Noir. This one, again, an Enemies with Benefits. I was just really on a kick this year. This was a really fun one. I was really pleasantly surprised on this because I read it on Apple Books, and they have some free books, and there are some few gems in there, and this was one of them. I loved it. I thought that both of the characters, Eli and Violet, had, again, such great banter, such great chemistry, and I think it makes sense. You know, like this is like the type of like enemies to benefits that make sense. Like the ones that I like have on this list, I think they're the ones that are done right. You know, like there's like that justified reason as to why you shouldn't really like them and why you feel like that sort of animosity towards them, but then there's like that sort of attraction that you have towards them that's just like so frustrating, and it all like culminates to this tension building scene where they just kiss, and it's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, like, this was just like perfect. I think like them having that kind of relationship and then eventually becoming friends and spending more time together like happened very naturally, and then when the I love yous came at the end, like it made sense, and I love that. It was good, and I highly recommend this one. Coming in at number 9, we have Codename Charming by Lucy Parker. I gave this a 4 stars, and I will say that the writing and the structure of this book is a little bit confusing because I feel like it switches off perspectives really weirdly, like in between like paragraphs. So I was kind of confused, but like the overall story, I thought it was super cute. This book, it follows our 2 main characters, Pet and Matthias, and they work for a royal family. I believe this is in England or something. I know they have accents, but Pet is a PA and Matthias is the head of security, and so they have to fake a relationship because of publicity things. It's so cute, and I love that our male main character is not conventionally attractive. Like, I feel like a lot of romance books out there are like of conventionally attractive guy, but I love that it explicitly says in this book like he's not conventionally attractive, and a lot of people make fun of him for it, and Pet is just like, I need you to stop that right now, and I love it. She stands her ground, and she's amazing, and I love the relationship between these two because it's just like the sweetest and purest thing ever. Like, they have maybe one sexy time scene. I know they have a couple, but like overall, like I would just describe their relationship as just very pure and very sweet, and I think that like both of these characters just really care for one another, and I love reading that. You know, I love that both characters take time to really show their care for one another and get to know one another without having like this kind of snarkiness to them. I just love those kinds of stories, you know, where 2 people are just nice to each other. I feel like we need more of that. Coming in at number 8, another surprise for me. It is Play Along by Liz Tomforde. This one is a boy obsessed one. I love it. Fake marriage? No, it's a real marriage. Marriage of convenience. Marriage for convenience. That trope. But our main characters, Kennedy and Isaac. Kennedy and Isaac or Kennedy and Isaiah? I think it's Isaiah. Yeah? Basically, Isaiah is a baseball player and Kennedy is one of the physical therapists. And Isaiah's just had like the hugest crush on Kennedy, but she's always been married. But she breaks off her marriage and Isaiah's like, I'm like actually gonna like try to pursue her. And the whole team spends a night in Vegas for like a game or something. And they eventually get super drunk and get married in Vegas. Things ensue from there, and it's super fun, and I really like this one. Surprising for me. I don't know, because I just feel like a lot of sports romance, like, they have to be really, really good for me to like them, because I feel like I've just read so much that I understand it, and it has this like sort of vibe to it where it's like frat boy-ish, you know, with a lot of sports romance, and I don't like that. But with this one, I really liked it. I thought that both characters had really good chemistry, and I think that like the progression and their relationship romantic wise and just like platonically was done really, really well. I just love, like, you know, like, again, people just being nice to each other, and this was a really, really good one. And I love the jealousy scenes. It just is amazing. I love it. Coming in at number 7 is a bit of a heavy one. It is Fighting Words by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley. This one is a middle grade book. It follows our main character, who's a 10-year-old Della, and she is put into foster care after really bad things happen to her and her sister. Her and her sister are in the same foster care home. It unravels kind of like what happened to lead them to foster care and also Della's life after all of that. It's so heartbreaking. I don't think I could ever reread this book again. It's just very heavy, and I really like this book. I think it flowed nicely, being that this is from a 10-year-old's perspective, between like tones of humor and tones of like sadness and just kind of grief, honestly. It's so heavy. I don't really know what else to say about it other than it's really heavy, and I would go into this knowing the trigger warnings. I think that's a beautiful story that a lot of people should read, but it is a very heavy one. I understand if you would want to skip it. I forgot what number that was. Anyway, we're at number 4, which is A Long Stretch of Bad Days by Mindy McGinnis. I loved this book. I loved it. I gave it a 4 stars. It is a young adult mystery. Mindy McGinnis. I love Mindy McGinnis. I feel like every book I've read from hers, I've loved. I don't know if I've read much from her, but The Female of the Species, I love that book. And honestly, going into this one, I was kind of expecting it, but it's not that. And it's like, not all books are the same, but the writing in this is superb. I love Mindy McGinnis's writing. I feel like it's just very like cutthroat and very to the point, and I love it so much. This follows our main character Lydia. She's kind of known as like the goody two shoes, like that it family, but her family comes with a lot of baggage, and she's very much like cunning type of character where you don't see her coming, but she's there. She's a wolf in sheep's clothing. Okay, she finds out that she is not going to graduate if she doesn't have like a history credit, and so she has to do this project on the side with this non-popular loner type of kid who's on the poorer side of town, Bristol, and they investigate a long stretch of bad days where a tornado hit, I believe, and a murder happened. And it's so thrilling and I love it. It's amazing. I don't know how else to say it. It's just like that small town murder mystery vibe, and it's like very rural is what I would describe it as. It's fantastic. I love it so much. There's no romance in here, and I actually loved it. I don't know why, but I was expecting like maybe something between Lydia and Bristol, but it doesn't happen, and I love it like that. Kind of like odd friendship is like my favorite thing. The argument scenes in this one, amazing, cannot be beat. It's fantastic. I loved it, and just like everything about this was perfect. I think that my only gripe with this one was that it was like a little bit comedic at the wrong parts, at least for me. Like it didn't like completely turn me off from it, but it was kind of like, oh, I don't understand what the tone is going on here, you know? So yeah, it's not super dark, and it's a little bit lighthearted. It is just kind of like your perfect small town murder mystery book. Coming in at number 3, our top 3, guys. This is creme de la creme for me. 6 More Months of June by Daisy Garrison. This is probably like the book that I'm most obsessed with on this list, and you're probably wondering why it's number 3. I will give reasons for that, okay? I love this book. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. This follows our 2 characters, Mina and Kaplan. They have been best friends since childhood, and it's their last year in high school, and just a bunch of things happen, and it's fantastic. I love it so much. Okay, talking about this book, I love the friendship between Mina and Kaplan. This friendship, like, honestly made me cry because, like, it's the relationship between Mina and Kaplan is like, no matter what happens, they will always have each other. They are each other's soulmates, you know, platonic wise, and it like makes me want to tear up so much just because of how pure it is and how much they care and love for each other. It's amazing. And then when we go into the drama of everything, this book is so dramatic, guys. It is so dramatic, and it's fun messy. It is fun. Again, spoilers here, but you know that scene in The Perks of Being a Wallflower, the movie, where they're sitting in a circle and Patrick dares Charlie to kiss the prettiest girl in the room, and he doesn't kiss his girlfriend? There's a scene like that in this book, and it is fantastic. It is fantastic, and I love it because obviously, you know, Kaplan and Mina, they end up falling in love. But it was amazing. It was fantastic, and I just loved every aspect of this book. It was so great, so amazing, and I just love like the feeling around this book. You know, it's like those first like warm summer days. It's the end of a chapter and you're saying goodbye to so many people, and it's just like very nostalgic, and like this glowy, warm tone light that's just around everything, and I love it. And I think this is like the perfect young adult rom dramedy. Like, if you want to read something like that, this is amazing. Amazing. I love this. My gripe with it though was the third act scene, where it didn't completely make sense to me. I mean, it made sense in some capacities, but like, I think Mina, she's just very like scared of like being codependent with Kaplan. I don't know, I feel like that kind of came out of nowhere, but you know, otherwise this was a really, really good book, and I would highly recommend it. You just have to read it. It's perfect. It's amazing. Coming in at number 2, we have I Hope This Doesn't Find You by Anne Liang. This was fantastic. I mean, Anne Liang just kind of is it. She is it. This is a Rivals to Lovers. Our main character, Sadie, she writes a lot of email drafts, kind of bitching about a whole bunch of people. She rants about a lot of things, and most of it is to her rival, Julius, who's kind of this like stuck-up guy who is always trying to one-up her. These emails get out, and she has to deal with the aftermath, and it's fantastic. Oh my goodness. It is just like, again, the drama of it, the like messiness of it all, and also the romance. It's so cute, it's so sweet, and I think that like the banter between Sadie and Julius is amazing. I think like the chemistry between them and like the slow growth of their friendship to romance is amazing. I love it. Oh my god, like, I don't know what else to say about this. Like, you just have to read it to like understand like the perfection of it. It's amazing. And you know, like it, like I think a lot of these YA books like do a very good job at capturing that like high school essence, where like everyone just kind of knows everyone, and you're not particularly friends with a lot of people, but like know of them, like you'll talk to them, but like you're not best friends with them. I think these books like do such a great job of it, and it's fantastic. And then coming in at number 1, we have A Code for Love by Khabra. This was the first book that I read last year, and it was first book, best book. I loved it. I think it delivered on so many things. It's not the most perfect book, but like to me it was. Okay, like this was like a good romance book. It's like a neighbors to lovers, grumpy sunshine. Our main character moves to a new town, and she has a lot of things fall through for her, but then eventually she gets a job, and she has this like one neighbor, because she lives in an apartment building. She has this one neighbor who like kind of gets on her nerves, and she finds out that she also works with him, and it's just a romance between them, and it's so cute. There's like a little bit of fake dating that goes on, and it's just like kind of fantastic. And I think the third act scene was quite good, and just overall this was great. Again, good people just being nice to each other. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I think it was. I think like it had a good amount of angst, and it was perfect. It was sexy, it was hot, it was heart-wrenching, fantastic. I love this, Khabra. You knew what you were doing, and I would recommend this. Go read this, guys. Before we end this video, I just want to kind of give like a sort of honorable mention to some other books that did not make it onto my top 10 list, but were also very good. What was at number 13, I believe, was How to End a Love Story by Yulin Kwang. She is, I believe, the screenwriter for Emily Henry's adaptations, and this one's a weird one. It's a weird one. It is third person present, but I love this one. It's not a fun messy. It's kind of a messy where you're like, I don't know how this is gonna resolve itself, but it's a really good one. It's sexy, it's fun. I think that the relationship between our characters, Grant and Helen, are done very well. It's overall perfect. The third act was amazing. I loved it. And at number 12 was Silver Foxed by Kayla Gross. This was a romance novella, and let me just say, a lot of romance stories need to be novellas, because I don't need 500 pages of two people fucking. Like, that's just too much. And I think Silver Fox knew what it was doing. It was an age gap romance. The main character is 30 and the other main character is 45. Okay, it's not a gross age gap, but they both arrive at this vacation home that they thought they were staying alone in, and it turns out no, both of them are staying there, and it's super hot and sexy. It's super fun. It was done really well. I would recommend it. You need to go read it if you want to have just like fun and entertaining time. And then number 11 was a really surprising one, which is Between the Notes by Sharon Huss wrote. Love triangle, kind of an insufferable main character, but I get her. She gets a pass, okay? She's a stupid 16-year-old girl who thinks that the smallest changes are gonna like ruin her life. And I once was a a stupid 16-year-old who thought the smallest changes would ruin her life. So she gets a pass from me. It's super cute. Again, surprisingly, I love this. This was one I read when I was 12 years old. I must say, 12-year-old me had taste a little bit. I will say though, my only gripe with this one is that like I hate those stories where it's like hate to love, but then the guy just doesn't like the girl because she doesn't reciprocate his feelings and he's mean to her because of that. I'm not a big fan of that, but I guess you can make some excuses for this, but it's really tiring for me. Otherwise, this was really cute for like a YA one. I surprisingly was thinking about it a lot, like throughout the entire year. It was kind of it. I will say, if you're looking for like kind of like a stupid YA book to read, this was it. Otherwise, that is going to conclude this video. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I will see you guys in the next video, which should be coming out very soon. Bye!